Hello and welcome to another Tech Forum talk. Today we'll be talking about point cloud basics. My name is Paul Hardwick. I work for 12D Solutions in a support role based in Queensland. We're going to try and beat the project clock by using point clouds and point cloud data directly inside 12D model. So inside 12D v15, we're going to read in a point cloud. So if we go data input, point clouds, LAS, import LAS. The file that we're going to read is this one here. Go to the basic tab and I'm going to click a color. So I'm going to select yellow for my default color. And the model, I'm going to call it PC data, which is my point cloud data. There's a few new settings here. Draw the cloud string, which we obviously want to do that if we want to be able to see our data. Pin the cloud string will load the point cloud into memory, so it will draw faster. And then level of display for cloud string, we leave that ticked on. That's a new one to v15. That will, when you are at a distance from the point cloud, that's won't draw every single point that you don't need to see. So that will speed things up as well. There's also a stride value, so you can skip over certain amounts of points in the point cloud data set as well. The projection, I'm going to leave that as default. The categories, now this data has been categorized, so I'll show you that once we bring the data in. And I'm going to leave everything set as visible, and I can turn them off later on. So I'll hit the read button and we'll read the file in. So while that's doing that, I just want to talk about using point clouds over network. Now, you can use it on a network. It will be a little bit slower because of the transfer speed on and off the network. So you can, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'll also show you some other little tips about checking to make sure that you're using the point clouds to the best of its ability inside 12D. Okay, so the main tip is to only try and use views that use your graphics card. Now, what views use your graphics card? If we come up under view, and if we have a look under new, there's the OpenGL views. So you have a planned OpenGL and a perspective OpenGL. Those two views are the ones that will use your graphics card. And I'll show you how to make sure that 12D is using your graphics card and how you can fix it if it's not. Okay, so what we will do is I'll turn on the point cloud data in my plan OpenGL view. So that is the plan OpenGL view, so obviously the point cloud from the top. Now, to double check that we are using the graphics card, I'm just going to bring up Task Manager, and the shortcut key that I usually hit is Control-Shift-Escape will bring up your Task Manager. So if we come to the Performance tab, and obviously there's some lag in my performance, I put that down to the recording software that we're using to record the videos. But here's my GPU here. So if I zoom in and out of 12D, you can see my NVIDIA graphics card here. So this is my expensive one, or not too expensive, but it's better than the inbuilt Intel graphics card that I have. So when I zoom in, you can see my GPU on my NVIDIA goes up and down. So that's a clear indicator that 12D is using my graphics card as expected. Okay, now you can see the lag in my computer, and I'll show you what's using most of the RAM. That's this software here, this demo creator. It's using up 34% of my CPU. So if things seem a little slow, that's what it is. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And I'm just going to go to my desktop, and when I right click and go to display settings, now each Windows computer is a little bit different, but down the bottom here, if I go to graphic settings, I can select my my program, and I can have a look at the options, and you can see here I've got it set to high performance, and you can also set the default to be high performance as well. Okay, so I'll go back into 12D and we'll have a little bit more of a look at the point cloud. So the other main things that I mentioned before when we imported the data was pinning the point cloud. That will also speed up the use of the point clouds as well. So if we come under strings, point clouds, and I'll get that menu. So over here, see pin point cloud. So if I pick and accept the point cloud, you can see that it's ticked on to pin the point cloud. So if you already have some existing point clouds that haven't been pinned, you could pin them after the fact, even though you've already imported them. Okay, and you can also set the level of displays as well post import. So if you've already got projects that you've already imported data from, you can create the level of displays after the fact that you've imported them as well. There's a couple of other settings here, which I'll just show you in the 3D view or the perspective view. And this is to do with the size of certain points. The other thing I will show you is on the settings icon up in the top left hand corner here, settings, and then you've got a few cloud settings here, which I'll discuss in a second. The one that I just remembered is this drawing engine. That's also another important setting here. So I'm using these OpenGL threaded, which I think has been set to be the default for v15. So what these means is you can escape out of a redraw. If it starts redrawing, you can hit escape and it will stop the draw if it's taking too long. So let's have a look at some of these settings in here. Just try and zoom in. Now, as I said, when I'm not videoing, it's lightning quick when I zoom in and out. But using during the recording, it actually slows it down considerably. Okay, so here's some points. And the thing you can change here is the cloud point size. So if I put something in here, so 4, so that will be 4 pixels per point. So if I hit set, you can see that it's increased the size of the pixels, and now it looks like a solid image when I zoom out a little bit. Okay, and I can see my ground control point here. So you can play around with these numbers. That's 2, so you can see the difference between that. There's other things here that you can change with the settings here. Now, like I said, this is a colorized point cloud. So if I have a look at my cloud coloring, at the moment it's set to point color. Now I can set this to categories. So these are the different categories. So I'm fairly confident blue is the ground, white is buildings. There's I think there's another color for vegetation. I can't remember the actual colors for all of them, but yeah, I think if we click on a point, it will tell us. So the classification on that one, see in the bottom area there, it says classification building. Okay, so if I click on that one, the blue one is ground. Let's see if I can get one of these cyan ones. And find out what cyan is low vegetation. Okay, and then let's see if we can try and find out this magenta one. High vegetation. Well, that makes sense. Okay, remember those. We'll write down those for later. Okay, so then the other thing, so you've got the point color, categories, intensity, grayscale. I don't think this has that set, so you won't see anything. So that could be another reason why you might not see a point cloud. It's got GPS time. That just puts it back to its color. And then you've got the actual string color. So if I click on that and hit set, so that is that default color that I gave it at the start, that yellow color. So I'm going to leave it back to point color and back to this way. So there are some basic settings for the point clouds that you can have. Now, if we want to turn off the buildings and the vegetation, we can come up under strings, point clouds. I shouldn't have shut that menu. And we can go to global categories. Under categories, global LAS categories. Okay, so this enables you to pick a data set of point clouds. So instead of having to do one point cloud at a time, you can pick a whole heap of point clouds. Okay, so it's set everything here to no. So what I can do is I'm just going to this ground one and set this one to yes. So everything else will be turned off and only the ground will be left turned on. So if I hit set, and now you can see all of the buildings, trees and vegetation have been turned off. Now you can see for the most part, that has done a pretty good job. The other software that classified this data has done a reasonable job of working out what was buildings and what wasn't. You can tweak that inside 12D. There is some ways of categorizing point clouds, but we'll go into that in a little bit more advanced one. This one is just meant to be for the basics. So the next thing I'm going to do, and if we have a look at the amount of data that we have here, so if we go under model info and pick the point cloud and info, so 27.5 million points. So it's not a massive point cloud by any stretch of the imagination, but it's probably more than most people are used to dealing with inside 12D. Okay, so let's see if we can reduce that down a little bit. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use this point cloud mesh thinning. This was another option that was brought out in V14. So I'm going to pick the point cloud. And the mesh line interval, now if you can imagine a grid being drawn over the point cloud, that is your interval. Okay, so I'm going to say I want a line every meter. And then if you think about it, for every line that's drawn, I want to look to the left and right of that grid line and find points within a certain distance. And that's what this sample tolerance is. So I want to look for anything that's within 5 millimeters of those lines. Now you can play with these settings, but I want to look for any point that's within 5 millimeters of that line and grab it and use it as part of my sampling. So once I have those lines, then I want to filter out any points that I don't need. So the filter tolerance, I'm going to set to 25 millimeters. Preserve XY, when we have our line our grid lines, it will keep them, if you tick on preserve XY, it'll keep the points in their original position. If you untick it, it'll put them all in a nice straight line. So I'm going to do that, is untick preserve XY. The number of meshes, one mesh is a grid, so just you know, north, south, east, west, and 2 meshes is that turned on a 45, and if 3 meshes is it turned on a 45 again. So you'll get great coverage if you do 3 meshes. 2 is plenty, I'm going to put in 2, and my target model is going to be thinned, if I can spell it, thinned data, and I hit run. So that will create the thin data and then filter it for us at the same time as well. So this is going to help us reduce the amount of data that we have in our project. So once I've done this, if I really want to, I can get rid of the point cloud out of the project and just have my thin data. Now this usually is a lot quicker than this. It's really amazing how much the recordings do slow this down. So that's finished. And so if I turn on the thinned data, and what I'll do is I'll have a look at how much data. So we had 27.5 million points in our point cloud. If we have a look here now, so now we have 86,000 points. So I've gone from 27 million to 86,000 points. Okay, so now we can turn off our point cloud data. And now these are just super strings. So we are able to then delete them easy, split them, fence data in and out. We can do all sorts of stuff once it's super strings. It's much easier to work with. And you will notice that when I pick on a line, it's in that grid fashion, so you can see them all highlighting along the screen. So they're still all in their grid, their original grids that it created. Okay, so let's tin this and we can have a look at manipulating this data a little bit more. So if we go to tins, create, triangulate data, and I'll just call it ground. And I'm going to copy that and put that as my function name. And in the data, I'm going to pick my thinned, and nulling, I'm going to set this to say 25 meters and triangulate and turn on my tin ground. So there's my surface. And you can see you have some high points here and there where the classifications did fail a little bit. I think there's some buildings over here and some mounds of things here as well. So I'll quickly just show you how to delete some points. And what I do is I just go into my plan view, view, window, cascade. And there's my plan view, and I'll turn off the point cloud and I'll turn on the tin and the thin data. Now what I'm going to do is turn on the contours, and that way I can see the spikes and valleys a lot easier. So you can see I have some spikes here, and what I've got is when I zoom in and out, I've made it so that it turns on the Z values when I get to a certain height, because I don't want to see the Z values at this height. I really only want to see them when I get in to this kind of level. So to do that, on my settings icon here, under settings, Z values, toggle, I did this size max and set my size max to 0.2. So once it gets past 0.2, that will turn off. Okay, so I can see I've got levels here around 106, 106, and then I've got these spikes around the 109 mark. So to delete them, I'm going to use my delete, the global delete, and I'm going to use a lasso, and I'm going to tick on select process, select only process only selected vertices. Now I'm going to turn this back to join, so it will join them once they're deleted, and replace. So I lasso, and I drag around the points I want to delete and get rid of all of them, and then middle click to accept, and I just hit delete. Okay, so while I'm doing this, I'll just go bring up my recalc menu, so utilities, recalc, and I will recalc my tin. And you can see the contours are cleaning up. So I come over here, here's some more lasso, and I will get rid of these. And recalc, and the tin is starting to clean up. So you can see it's much easier to tidy up the data once it's superstrings and points like this. So that is the benefit of using the mesh thinning as well. And for all of you surveyors that delete the recalc menu, now you can see why it was put there. Now, the fact that it keeps bringing up this retriangulate the results here, that setting is under the settings icon, and under system function results. So I'll just turn that off and hit set. Now I won't get this message popping up anymore. So when I recalc the tin, it won't pop up and show me that message anymore. So there's some fundamentals with point clouds and some little tips and tricks on how to use them. And hopefully you've gained something there, and will help you to beat the project clock. So if you want to find out more about point clouds and 12D Model 15, please contact us with the details on the screen. Thank you for watching.